This course is presented to you free of charge by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz and by Stir It Up of www.stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U, not an I, so that's STURITUP.com. TTJ Tech Services and Stir It Up are pleased to offer this course to you to the glory of God and to the benefit of all those who listen. I want to address something that is the proverbial elephant in the room, I guess, as we're getting started here. And we at TTJ and Stir It Up, we've said this a lot, and you could literally play a recording of us saying this, and it would apply every year. And yet, many, many times, people who haven't heard it, or people who read things, they ask the question: should I wait? Should I update? And I think that's based on genuine concerns that there may be issues along the way, and certainly nobody's perfect. The software has bugs in it at times. That's nothing new. Here at TTJ, we always say update as soon as you can, as a rule. Update as soon as you can. And very quickly to kind of go over why we say that, we'll save you the time of talking about how you'll get all the new features if you update, right? Because some people really don't care. They say, well, I don't need that feature, or I don't, So what are some other reasons why we encourage people to update right away from day one? One of the most important reasons is that there are a lot of behind the scenes updates, security patches, things that you may not have even ever known where issues are addressed by these updates. And that's really, really important to keep you safe, to protect your data. You say, well, I don't need that. I don't bank online, or I don't, I don't do online shopping or whatever. Well, your data is out there a lot more than you think. And you kind of just have to accept that, unless you're going to, go off the grid somewhere and not use any technology. But there are some earthly things you can do. And keeping your devices up to date is always one of those things. And if you ever need support on an app, on an Apple device, etc., the first thing almost any representative is going to say to you is your software up to date? And if you say no, they'll pretty much stop right there and say, let's take care of that first, just in case that may have fixed something, that you're having an issue with. So very critical to keep your devices up to date. In addition to that, the number of bugs is very, very minimal. Apple does a very good job about that. And we have been, at least a couple of us, we have been using iOS 18 and really 18.1 since back in July, maybe June for Cliff. But we can honestly say there are almost no bugs. And the ones we've discovered are not anything that would prevent you from doing what you need to do. A lot of times in this community, they call them showstoppers. There are none of those that I'm aware of. There are a couple things that maybe require little workarounds here or there, but nothing that is going to prevent you from getting done what you need to get done. You become part of the group who helps improve this stuff when you install this, and you maybe find something that nobody else has found, even with millions of people using the devices, that nobody has your exact use case. Maybe to start out with 18.0, I just want to mention that there are some new settings, And the settings app has been kind of completely redesigned. And so, like we always say, we always tell you, take a look through your settings when you after you update. And so I'm going to help you do that right now by pointing out a couple of highlights. The first highlight I want to point out about settings is the complete redesign. I think this has been a long time coming. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's going to be something to get used to. You got to remember it, but I think once you do, you'll really like it. And that is that the sort of top layer of settings is still there. There might have been a slight change to the order of things, but all of your apps, including Apple apps now, including messages and mail and so forth, are under a new apps category in settings. So let me show you what that sounds like in case you haven't seen it for yourself. I've got my iPhone right here and my other iPad, but
settings. Double tap to open. Settings.
Okay, so we're in settings and we start swiping and we see the usual search
field, dictate,
my name,
family,
and the family button. All those things are unchanged.
Airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular button.
All right, but let's head down to the near the bottom of the screen, and we're not going to actually be able to touch the bottom of the screen entirely, but I can 4-finger single tap, and it should bring me down there. And what we're going to see, I'm going to show you the last couple of options here in settings.
iCloud button.
There's a new iCloud settings, which is really a quicker way of jumping directly to your iCloud settings instead of having to go through your name first. But let's keep. We've had that before, but now listen to this.
Apps button.
Apps. That's the very last thing in settings. Look.
Apps button.
So if we go into that, it's an alphabetical order of every app
selected. App Baby Life 3D
that has any settings. There's a back button at the upper left.
Settings, back button, apps, heading.
As we swipe right,
search.
We can search.
Dictate, but section index, adjustable.
There's our index, so we can quickly swipe to a letter that we want. If we go to the right,
AMC Theaters, Okinator, Amazon Elect, Amber, American Idol.
All these different apps that we have starting with our A's. So if I want to go down to, for example, message settings, I just use the index.
Section index, cap B, cap J, cap M, selected.
I'm on M, and I'll tap kind of the middle of the screen.
Max, McDonald's, measure, messages.
And there's messages, and mail is under there as well. So as I say, it'll be a little bit to get used to, because you're used to maybe some of those things, phone and messages and stuff being right at the main screen. But once you get used to it, I think you're really going to like it. It's much more organized. It makes a lot of sense. And I really think it's, my opinion, it's the right move. That's a very important change to settings. We are not going to go through every settings panel to look at what's changed and what's new. But because we have primarily voiceover users here, we are going to talk about some new voiceover settings. So we need to go back out of the apps category and into accessibility.
Settings, back button, settings, back button, settings, heading, screen, face ID, focus, sounds at the notif, wellpick, standby, search, home screen, display, control, camera, Apple Intelligent action, accessibility, button.
And there's accessibility. We go into that.
Accessibility, heading.
And the first thing we'll see.
Personalize iPhone in ways that work best for you with accessibility features for vision, mobility, hearing, speech, and cognition.
A little description there. And we go to the right.
Vision, heading, voiceover, on, button.
And there's voiceover. Now, if we go into this.
Voiceover, switch but voiceover speaks items. Tap once to select an item. Double tap to act it. Learn more.
All right, that's nothing new. That's been there. But let's keep going.
What's new in voiceover? Link.
What's new in voiceover? There's a little section you can read about what changes have been made to voiceover. And then if we go to the right,
voiceover practice button.
We've always had that. But now look at this one. Our Mac OS users will recognize this.
Voiceover tutorial button.
There is now an actual tutorial quite similar to the voiceover quick start tutorial on the Mac that you can actually go through, and it will teach you step by step how to use voiceover with some of the features and the most common gestures and so on. So we highly encourage you to give that a try, even if you are a longtime voiceover user, just to see what it does. Let's keep going here, see if there's anything else.
Speaking rate. Speaking rate. Adjust the speaking rate of the primary speech button.
All right, if you go under speech, some of you have already heard of this.
Primary voice. Heading. Alex. English. United States. Additional voices. Heading. Add rotor voice button. Voices added here can be selected in the voice rotor.
So there's a new rotor option called voices, and you can select these different voices, even additional English ones, as well as others. But you can have the primary voice.
Pitch change. Switch button. On.
And then
detect languages.
You have these settings.
VoiceOver will switch voices when
but I want to show you, though, if you go back to where your primary voice is, because you can even customize that.
Primary voice. Heading. Alex. English. United States. Button.
So if I open that.
Voice. Button. Rate. Heading. Decrease speed. Image. Slider 51%. Increase speed. Pitch. Heading. Pitch dot low. Image. Slider 50%. Adjustable.
We can adjust the rate, the pitch,
volume,
the volume,
slider 100, volume, pitch range 100, adjustable.
The sort of frequency range of the pitch that we can hear.
WPM minimum 50 words per minute. WPM audio effects. Heading. Equalizer. Button. Reset voice settings. Button.
And you can reset them. So there's a lot of new settings now to customize the way that the voices sound with VoiceOver as well. So that is another new feature of VoiceOver besides the tutorial. Let's go back.
Play voice.
Oh, and you can play it.
Play button.
If you want to sample.
Hello, my name is Alex.
All right, so we'll go back to speech and back to VoiceOver.
Primary voice. Primary speech. VoiceOver.
And let's see what else is under here now.
Speaking rate. Adjust speech.
Actually,
Braille. VoiceOver recognition. Verbosity. Button. Audio.
There's some new things in a couple of these I won't get into for the sake of time. But
commands, rotor, activities, but typing.
I did want to point out a couple of
settings, navigation style,
a couple of additional gestures that they have now. One of them you can disable in your Braille screen input settings if you don't like it. Since I don't use Braille screen input, I have disabled this because I would inadvertently activate Braille screen input and not realize how. And what it is it is a double tap with two fingers, but one on the bottom edge of the device and one on the top edge of the device. And it will activate Braille screen input. As I said, I've turned that off because I don't use Braille screen input, but I'll go into my VoiceOver help to show it to you.
Starting help. To stop help, perform a 4-finger double tap or 2-finger scrub or press escape on the keyboard.
So if we do it at the edges.
2-finger double tap the far edges. Braille screen input.
Okay, so that's a quick way to start BSI. You can scrub out of it. I think there's another gesture too, but you could do the 2-finger scrub if you do activate it. I turned it off. If you're not a Braille screen input user, you may want to turn it off. It's personal preference, but I did because I found myself accidentally enabling it at times. So I just turned it off. The command again is a 2-finger double tap near the, as it says, the far edges.
For those who do use Braille screen input or who like to use it, and I understand why, because you don't have to carry your Braille display with you or a keyboard, and it's just a quick way of using, for lack of a better term, the blind version of the touchscreen keyboard, as our silent counterpart, so they can just pick up their phone, reply to a text, and go on about their business. With BSI, you pretty much can do the same thing. I will say that from people that I've beta tested with that do use BSI, that it has improved drastically. It is much more accurate, much more responsive, and more intuitive. So if you like BSI and you shied away from it because it was clunky in the past, give it another shot. Because people that swear by BSI say that that's all they use now. They don't even use a Bluetooth keyboard because it's so good now. I can't attest to it because I'm not a BSI fan, but those who are love it now.
All right, very good to know.
One finger, two
Um,
single tap. Toggle speech.
I'm still in voiceover help, and I'm going to show you another new gesture, or maybe a reclaimed gesture, I guess. I think it's a 4-finger triple tap.
4-finger triple tap. Live recognition.
Now, I have live recognition in my rotor, so I'm going to get out of my voiceover help here.
2-finger scrub. Escape. Stopping help.
So
to be clear, you're telling me if I don't have braille or screen recognition, that's what that is, right?
No, so this is different. This is live recognition.
Live recognition. Okay, I just want to make sure I was talking about the right thing. So if I don't have live recognition in my rotor, I can 4-finger triple tap and it'll automatically turn it on.
That's yes, that's what they say. So I have not really. I'll admit to you, I have not really played very much with live recognition, but we're going to give it a try right now. So I'm going to go to my rotor and show you the options for this.
Live recognition. Scenes off. Point and speak off. Text off. Furniture off. People off. Doors off. Scenes off.
Look at all those choices. So I'm going to stand up here. As I said, I've not really played with this. Not very much. So we're going to see together. Let's do furniture.
The people.
Because I'm near some furniture.
Furniture off. On. Music. Live recognition started. Scenes off. Button.
Okay, so what do I do now?
People off. But scenes off. But doors off. Furniture on. Button. Text off. Point and speak off. Stop recognition. Stop recognition. Sofa empty 1 foot.
Did you hear that? It says sofa empty 1 foot. That's correct. Let's move a little.
0 feet.
0 feet. Okay. See what this is here. So we heard to do the sofa. Let's see if I do.
Text a point and speak off. Button. Point and speak on.
Let's try this. Walk around a little. See if we find something we want to point.
Hand detected.
Detected my hand. Well, that's good. Okay.
That's
More
furniture?
automatic flashlight on.
Okay, it said more light required, automatic flashlight on. So I can move around, and I'm just kind of guessing, where I might want to put. And as I said, I've not played with this. There may be certain hand motions that will increase the accuracy. I've not read about it, but
Text off.
you can do this with text. You can do it with furniture, with scenes. So all of these different options. And that's pretty impressive. I think that's a neat feature that they have here. As you guys said, very convenient. Anything else with voiceover specifically, guys?
You did the voices. I like that you can fine tune them. But I know you just did them. But
why don't you talk a little bit more about that? Because I actually haven't played with that. I was satisfied with the way they were. But what do you mean? Because somebody might be, and when she said they fine tune, where you find that at? Anyways, tell us what you're talking about when you say you can fine tune them.
You can fix the speed at which your voice, the voice speaks. You can really fiddle around with the pitch, with the timbre, with and just mess around with it and just see what works for you. And then, of course, it used to be a little bit more embedded, getting the number of seconds that the voice will when reading voiceover between sentences. It's a lot of times I find the voice to just sort of do almost like a run-on sentence and skip the periods. And so I set mine at 3 seconds in between sentences, which gives me a little bit more definition. And it's all right there in the same place. You don't have to hunt around for it.
Some of you may remember that starting in version 17, you could interrupt Siri while she was talking with a new request. But the downside of that was if you had background noise and so on, it would sometimes sort of interrupt itself. And we had a lot of people talking about that, a few people complaining about it. Well, if you go to settings accessibility, general, not vision, but general, and then Siri. There's a new setting here under Siri responses. And I want you to listen to the setting and listen to the description of it.
When this requires Siri for interruptions, switch button off. When this is on, you have to say Siri or Hey Siri to interrupt a Siri response.
Did you hear that? If you turn that setting on, the only way you can interrupt a response that she's reading is to say her name. And that will be really beneficial for those people who found it annoying that Siri interrupted it. So I'm kind of used to it, and I like the ability to do it if I want to do it. And yes, sometimes that means I have to do it a second time because somebody was talking in the background or something. But now you have the choice to control it. So once again, that's under settings, accessibility, general, Siri, and then it's called require Siri for interruptions.
The other thing I like is I turned on audio ducking. I had turned it off a long time ago because it wasn't working for me, and I love it now. It's I don't know. I don't know how it's better, but I can hear voiceover. It doesn't disappear on me, and it's not interrupting.
Well, and there are new audio ducking settings. That's a good point.
Yes.
That you can actually go like the ratio of like it goes above 100%. So you can adjust the proportion of the voiceover volume to whatever else is playing and when it ducks and so forth. There are new options there. One of the most rudimentary things that's been talked about with iOS 18 is the ability to customize your home screen in new ways, to customize your lock screen. There is for the first time, you can swap out the flashlight and camera controls on your lock screen and put other things there. You can tint the color of your home screen icons. You can add additional types of controls with widgets and so forth. And we won't get into a great lengthy demonstration of this, at least not today, but I'll just remind you where this all begins. It begins with a locked iPhone, and you unlock it without swiping up to go home. So you wake it up, and it's going to sound like this.
2:35 p.m.
Now we're going to long press on the time. And what we have...
Link of photo wallpaper. Photo link of focus. Link photo link of photo. Customize button. Add new lock screen wallpaper button. Show notifications.
So if we say customize.
Customize.
Now what we have, there's a button that says customize wallpaper, a heading that says customize, but it's not just the wallpaper that you're customizing. That's also where you can customize the flashlight and camera for something else.
Customize lock screen wallpaper, weather, conditions widget and conditions widget, calendar, next event widget.
It's not just the wallpaper though.
Recipe progress widget.
So
customize home screen wallpaper.
And again, that's the home screen, but you're not just customizing the wallpaper. You're customizing the whole home screen, and that's it. So if I pick one of these, like let's just say customize lock screen, if you go down to the bottom here, see, listen.
Flap done button.
There's the done button.
Calendar, clock widget.
Those are my widgets.
Weather, calendar,
but look,
amber, natural, pick a photo, but live photo off, more, natural, remove flashlight button.
You can remove the flashlight.
Flashlight button, remove camera.
You can remove the camera, and once you remove those, you can add other options. So then when you're done, you can hit done. So again, this is done with a long press on the lock screen, but the device has to be unlocked, if that makes any sense. You can also customize the control center in new ways. So if we open up, let's go here,
home,
and go to the control center.
To open control center, airplane mode, switch button off.
Airplane mode is typically the first thing, but I want you to swipe left.
75% app do not disturb. Alarm set. VPN. Home dash Xfinity Mobile. Cellular. Dynamic Island. Power button.
There's a power button, which allows you to quickly shut down your device.
Add controls button.
And there's an add controls button, which brings you to the gallery where you can add and reorder and edit and remove different controls from your control center. But also, when you're on the main part of the control center, you can 3-finger swipe up to go to more pages.
Ping my watch remote button.
Swipe up once.
Double tap page 2 of 4. Now playing. iPhone not playing.
And it's specifically the now playing control. Swipe up again.
Page 3 of 4. Home, kitchen, coffee maker off. Garage, main garage door closed.
As you can hear, this is our smart home page. And again, once 3-finger swipe up.
Page 4 of 4. Connectivity, airplane mode.
This has airplane mode, Wi-Fi, AirDrop, cellular data, Bluetooth, personal hotspot, VPN, satellite, and all of these different options, which are able to be used in the control center. And again, you can go back down with 3 fingers.
Page 3 of 4. Home. Page 2 of 4. Now playing.
That's your AirPlay and stuff like that.
Page 1 of 4. Favorites. Airplane
and your favorites, where I have the things that I use most. So I have airplane mode, AirDrop, Wi-Fi, and then there's a more controls button.
More controls button.
So if I want to see like
Double tap to expand.
other connectivity controls like cellular data or something,
Selected.
and then there's my AirPlay button.
Previous track play. Next track.
Music
Dim.
controls. I have
Screen mirroring button.
the screen mirroring for Apple TV.
Brightness 32%.
There's my brightness controller, volume control,
Flashlight. Switch.
flashlight.
Recognize music button. Quick note button. Selected. Focus. Do not disturb. Screen recording. Scan code. Remote button. Ping my watch.
So all these options and my focus, all those things are available for me, but you can customize all that with that button at the very top left. Again, you can swipe left of airplane mode, or you can do it by touch.
Add controls button. Power button.
And of course, we can get out of control center as we always have.
Music. Royalty free. Search.
Okay, and there's my home screen again. Another thing with home screen icons for the first time, you now have the ability to lock and hide apps. So a locked app will require Face ID to use the app, or even any part of that app, even in another app. When you hide the app, it not only requires Face ID, but it goes into a special hidden apps folder, which you can find in your app library. You have to use Face ID or Touch ID to open it, and it has all your hidden apps in it. So if we long press a particular app, like let's just use, and I did it with Wallet because, you got your Apple Card number in there and everything. So let me give you an example here of how to do it. We'll just use Open Table right here.
Open Table.
And
recently updated.
We will
double tap to open.
Long press.
Remove app button. Require Face ID button.
There it is. Require Face ID, and then your other options.
Share app. Edit home screen.
Okay.
Button.
If I say require Face ID.
Require Face ID button. Alert. Require Face ID for Open Table.
You have 2 choices.
This app will require Face ID or your passcode to open or show content in other apps. Require Face ID button.
Require Face ID. And then with many apps, you're going to have a second option.
Hide and require Face ID.
Hide and require. And that's where you're going to have the hidden apps folder only in the app library.
Cancel.
I'm going to cancel that because I don't really want to lock that app. But I do have one locked, and it's my Wallet app. So I'm going to let you hear what happens when I double tap Wallet.
Wallet. Face ID authenticated. User wallet.
Did you hear that? Before it would open Wallet, it required Face ID, and I already had my phone in the right position. So it just did it. So that's how you lock and potentially hide your sensitive apps.
But there was some issues when you were adding widgets to your home screen, to your lock screen, not to your home screen, but when you were adding widgets to your lock screen, that it would cover up everything else, like the time and battery status. It wouldn't even allow you to do certain things. I don't know if they fixed it. That was way back in like July, and I haven't tried it because more recently I've gotten my widgets and lock screen the way that I want it anyway.
Right.
So I haven't played with it. So that's just something for people to be mindful of, just in case it still happens. So
well, and that does bring up a good point. If we have any sighted users here, you can, for the first time, sort of play with where icons appear on your home screen. They don't have to be in exactly the same grid formation that they've always been. You can change their size, you can change their position. And this really is, more of a visual thing. But if we do have any sighted users, that's something that you can definitely play with in that same, either in the lock screen customization or the, the typical jiggle mode, as they call it, the edit mode where your apps are wiggling on the home screen. You can move things around there too. All right. So we're going to now get into the Messages app, where there have been some significant enhancements. And we're about to talk about my very, very favorite feature of iOS 18. And we'll go ahead and do that first, just because we can in Messages. When I heard about this feature, I kind of said, I don't even care what else they do with iOS 18. I want it for this. And this is the scheduled messages feature. This comes in. I mean, I use this almost every day, especially because I'm such a night person. I'm always up late. Maybe I think of something that I want to tell my wife. Maybe I am asking her if she will, make a fresh pot of coffee, or if she'll do something when she gets up for work. I want her to see it before she leaves for work, but I don't want to wake her up in the middle of the night. So I can set that message to send at a certain time. You can schedule multiple messages. You can even schedule multiple messages to the same person at different times. And it has to be iMessage. It looks like it only works with Apple to Apple. But I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So let's go into Messages.
Doc, Messages. Doc, Messages. Edit, button.
And let's do...
Connors, Megan, Cliff, Pat.
Let's find our instructor team here.
Dream, Edward, Suzette, TTJ Instructor Chat, Dan. Message, iMessage, message, text field is editing.
All right, we're in the instructor chat. Type a little message. Hey, guys.
Yes, guys. Message, app message, text field is editing. Hey, guys. Insertion point at end.
And it's ready to send. As I always have, I could swipe over and just hit send. But I'm not going to, because I want to send it later. So I'm going to swipe back to the left to the apps button.
Apps button. Camera.
We have camera.
Photos. Stickers. Apple Cash. Audio. Send later.
Send later.
Tap and hold.
We're going to double tap send later. Now, at the
tap and hold.
You're going to move your finger to the bottom of the screen, and you're going to hear some options here.
Today, pick her item, adjustable.
If we swipe left,
send button.
There's the send button. But
today, pick her item, adjustable.
Today, we could change the day.
7 o'clock, 00 minutes, PM, selected.
So you have all these different options, the hour, the minute, and AM or PM, as well as, of course, the day. It's 2:47. I want this to send at 2:50, so we're still on the call here. So
2 o'clock.
Actually,
12.
Yeah.
Select 48 minutes, 50 minutes, PM. To send today. Pick her 2 o'clock, 50 minutes, PM.
And I'll just swipe left now
to today. Send button.
to the send button.
Send message. Send dictate. Button.
Makes a little bit of a different sound. You can touch the bottom.
Today, pick her item.
And you can scrub this away.
Back button.
And if I look at my message conversation now,
Sarah Podoc, Cliff, heading Cliff, Sarah Podoc.
There were some past messages. Now listen.
Send later. Heading level 1. Today, 2:50 p.m. Edit button. Your iMessage. Hey guys, 2:50 p.m.
It tells me when it's going to send. And notice there was an edit button there. So that if I changed my mind, or if I wanted to edit that at all, I would double tap on that button and I could change it. So that's how easy it is to send later. And we'll see that they get that message in about 2 minutes that just says, hey, guys. That's how easy it is to schedule a message to be sent. As I said, you can schedule multiple messages and even multiple messages to the same person or same group. It just has to be Apple to Apple. That's the only requirement on that. In addition to that. There are some other new features in messages, and I'm going to show them to you. One of the things that we have is a new text effects option where we can bold, we can italicize, and we can do other things. So let's go back to our message again, and we'll type another message.
Today, message, dictate, message, send, insertion point at end. Cap A, O, hour.
Okay, so what I've done is I've typed, how are you? And let's see.
Today, send message, text field is editing. How are you? Character mode, insertion point between R and E.
Okay. Now, their other message ought to be sending just about now, and they'll be able to tell us here momentarily. But while we're waiting, I'm going to add some text effects to how are you. So I will actually, if you don't select anything, I think it does the whole message, but I'm going to...
Message, insertion point at start, words, text selection, word selection, how, selected.
Select how. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add some text effects here to that selected word. We swipe to the right
message send
of the send button.
Hose, who, hot.
Our typical predictions.
Open text effects button.
Open text effects. And if we do this, what we're going to see, listen now.
Bold text.
Bold.
Italicized text. Underline text. Text.
And then we have some fun ones.
Big, small, shake, nod, explode. Ripple, bloom, chiller.
Okay, so if let's say I pick bloom.
Bloom, selected, bloom.
Now what happens?
Message, send, message, one effect, text field, is editing, how selected, word mode, how, bloom text effects, send, button.
We could send that.
Send message, dictate, message.
And what I would point out is that
How are you? 2:52 p.m. One effect.
Tells you there's one effect. And if you want to find the effect, you can use the rotor. You can set the rotor to text effects.
More content, text effects.
And you can swipe down.
How, bloom.
And it shows me that that's the bloom. So that is our text effects. Again, you can bold, italicize, underline, and add these, strike through and add these really cool effects. The other thing you have is you have a new tap back picker. Now, remember, the tap back is where you either long press a message you've received or you use the rotor on it. It used to call it React. They've changed the name to reflect what Apple has actually called it anyway, which is tap back. And you have your typical ones, like here's a message from Sarah to the group. So I'll swipe down and I pick tap back.
Tap back picker, heart, button, thumbs up, thumbs down, haha, exclamation mark, question mark.
And we've always had those, but now...
Face with tears of joy, but grinning face with smiling eyes, button, winking face with stuck out tongue, cross-eyed grinning face, face with stuck out tongue, add custom emoji reaction, button.
And you can add a custom emoji reaction.
Message, damn.
So we can pick any emoji that we have. And I'll go in here and let's just see what what do we want to add here?
Stickers.
Memoji stickers. Recent. Let's do an animal.
Cat face. 3 mouse face.
Okay.
Dog face. 3.
Do a dog face because I have a dog.
Emoji search hidden messages. Message it. Your eye vertical. Today.
And if I looked at Sarah's message now,
you reacted with dog face.
See, I reacted with the dog face. And that's how easy it is to add custom tap backs to your messages that you receive. So 3 new features we've looked at in messages today: send later or scheduled messages, tap backs, custom tap backs, and excuse me, and also the text effects with bold, italics, and otherwise. There are 2 other messages features that you should be aware of. One is that for the first time, it's possible to send messages via satellite. If you are in a situation where there's no Wi-Fi or cellular, you may be able to get a satellite signal That typically is going to work better outside, but you might be able to get a satellite signal to send messages. And then the other new feature now is support for RCS, which is a newer non-iMessage standard.
Before you go ahead, I want to point out that if you do use a Bluetooth keyboard, definitely on your iPad. I don't know what keyboards use it on the phone. I think probably the Apple Magic Keyboard, but don't quote me on it. But for the Apple Logitech and Magic or whatever that keyboard is that Matt paid $500 for. No, I'm exaggerating. But anyways, if you're in a message and you have text selected, you can do command 1 through 9 and it'll tell you italicize, strike through. I forgot what they're all called, but you can use your text effects with your keyboard. You don't have to go into the toolbar to do them. You can use command 1 through 9, I think it is, to do them. Also, for your pinned conversations, 1 through 9, command 1 through 9 outside, not inside, because if you have text selected, it's going to do the text effects, but outside your conversation. So I have Matt number 3, my daughter number 2, and my mom number 1. So if I'm in a conversation that's 7 conversations down and I do command 3, that'll drop me right into the edit box of Matt's conversation. If I do command 1, it'll drop me right into the conversation of my mom's, in the edit box of my mom's conversation. And again, this is being on the list of messages, not inside of a message. Actually, it may work inside of messages as long as there's no text selected, because if there's text selected, then it'll automatically assume that you want to do one of those text effects with the italicized, strike through, bold, or whatever those are. Those commands are listed. But if you're in a conversation without text selected or in a messages list and you do command 1 through 9, it'll take you to your pinned conversations on the Bluetooth keyboard. Like I said, I know for sure it does the Logitech Combo Touch. And Matt, tell us the name of your keyboard again.
The Apple Magic Keyboard.
The Apple Magic Keyboard that you got to, sell one of your kids for. But no, I'm playing. But those two for sure, I do know that those work. As for third-party keyboards, you'll have to test it and see, because I don't use third-party keyboards except Logitech, but they have worked so well, or so closely with Apple, I should say, that all their keyboards are identical to Apple's, except they're a little bit cheaper.
The only other messages feature that I was going to just explain a little bit is RCS. Rich communications. This is a newer standard for the non-iMessage user. So this is when you're texting the Android folks. Now you'll notice certain Android devices support RCS and other ones don't. When they don't, it defaults back to the old MMS and SMS. But if it has RCS, you get the benefit of typing indicators, the delivered badge that you have with iMessage. I think you can send larger attachments, audio recordings, some of the same, not all, but some of the same features that you have with Apple users. To enable this, it's under settings, apps, and messages. Remember that extra step there in settings, apps, messages, and you can turn on RCS on your iPhone. I recommend doing that. Because there's no real downside to it. If it's, doesn't work, if there's a user that doesn't have it or whatever, it's going to default back to the SMS and MMS. And for Apple people, of course, it's always going to use iMessage if that's an option, if they have that enabled and you have it enabled and everything. So you're always still going to get the benefits of iMessage wherever it's possible. Those are the biggest features in messages. Maps is very simple. There's not a whole lot that has changed, but there are some new features for hikers, all the national parks. You can do custom routes. But what I want to show you is just a little bit of a change in the way that some of the app is laid out. And I really, really like it because it gives you a little more control when you want to find things. So I'm going to open it up here. And
Maps, my location.
I'm touching the sort of bottom middle of the screen, a little bit towards the left.
Locations, work, live, dictate, but search maps, search field.
And there's my search field, like I've always had. I can go to the left to see the weather, like I've always been able to do.
Cloudy, 76 degrees, air quality, 22. Good.
But go to the right. There's your search field.
Search maps. Search field.
And if we open that up, we still have our points of interest like we always have. If you want to find restaurants or hotels or shopping or gas stations near you, that's still always there. But if we don't double tap on the search field and instead we keep going to the right, this has been redesigned and I really like it.
Dictate, profile, button, locations, library, heading.
They call it library. And listen to what we have.
Work, add, button.
Okay, so you still have your
home,
your work, your home, and your favorites. But now keep going.
Add, button. 44 places, bullet, 7 guides, bullet, 0 routes, button.
They tell you, and you can double tap that to expand it and see it all. 44 places, 7 guides. These are things you've recently searched that you've saved, your favorites. And if you keep going,
recents, heading.
You'll go to recents.
More, button. Homewood at Regal Cinema, Carlisle of the guides we love. Heading.
And then the guides we love. But go back to the library.
More, recents. 44 places, bullet, 7 guides, bullet, 0 routes, button.
So if you double tap it,
library,
and now there's a close button, of course.
Close button.
But see,
pinned 2 button.
2 pinned places.
44 button. Guides 7 button.
And any of these that I want, I simply double tap. So if I want to see my guides,
7. Close. Favorites 0 places. Favorite restaurants 11 places. Rehoboth 1 place.
That's Rehoboth.
Important locations. Recreation. Pittsburgh trip.
So all of these places are guides. All of these are guides that I created. Favorite restaurants, Rehoboth Beach, and when I'm done, I hit close. I can open any of those, which I've always been able to do to access what's in them. But I just really like the way that this has been organized now. It just is a little more, I think it's a little cleaner. I think it's a little easier to find things quickly. And you can still do everything you've always been able to do. Your turn-by-turn voice guided, your, adding stops along the way, points of interest, everything you've, gotten used to still works quite well, praise God. But it's just a little bit of in my opinion, a nicer interface. It's always been good, but I just like this even better. The other one, I'm not going to spend too much time in it, but I encourage you to play with it. But I want to go into the Photos app because this is going to probably be the biggest shock to the system of anything, not in a bad way. It's just very different. And even sighted users are saying, yeah, I like it. I just have to get used to it. The biggest change with the Photos app is it's now a single view app. And what I mean by that is there's no tab bar. There are no separate tabs. It's all one view. And basically you scroll through it to find different things. So you can customize it to have different sections the way you want them. You can pin collections. You can do a lot of that stuff. But I'm just going to show you the most basic.
Clock, map, photos. What's new in Photos? Heading, all new design. Find your photos and videos faster with automatic organization and a familiar grid layout. New collections. Browse your library by recent days and your favorite groups of people, trips, and more. Fully customizable. Organize the Photos app by reordering collections and pinning items for easy access. Search, clean up, and create. With Apple Intelligence, search for just about continue.
Well, you don't have Apple Intelligence yet unless you're on beta. But anyway, we'll hit continue.
Photos, 7,000.
And I've already been using this, but that popped up since yesterday because it's now, rolled out to the masses. So that was actually good that I hadn't opened it since yesterday. So you had a chance to hear that. A lot of your apps will display that stuff. But if I look at like the very top left.
Photos. 7,725 items. Photo search button.
And there's a search field. Now, it's kind of displaying only the recent ones. So if I kind of touch near the middle of the screen.
Library button. Profile button.
And I swipe left.
Select button.
There's a select button so I can.
Search button. Photos. 7 live notification.
Okay.
Recent days,
and I have recent days there. And then if I keep swiping further down,
July 30th,
I
September
can
3rd,
see
recent days button, September 3rd, recent days button, heading.
now.
September 3rd, August 13th, July 30th, 2024 button.
If I open one of these, like recent days
button, heading, days, heading, day close, but September 3rd, December 20th, 2023.
So I can move through these, but if I just go back and if I close that, what I have is my main library. If I choose that, I now have most of the screen is displaying my recent photos. I can tap on one.
Photo, date, September 3rd, time, 8:07 p.m., shared, saved. More content available. A person holding a magazine with images and text. 716 true cake and T.
Oh, and that's a photo. My daughter is selling items for a school fundraiser, and she scanned all of the pages of the catalog so that she could send them to other people. So I have 14 photos of her doing that, but I can go past those. And
photo, date, August 21st, time, 7:28 a.m., shared, unsaved. More content available. 2 children standing next to each other and posing. Maybe Carson. TC Con.
Now, if you go further down near the bottom of the screen, you're going to have
sort and filter button.
This sort and filter button. And if we hit that, you can see
sort by recently added button, selected, sort by date captured button, selected, both libraries button, personal library, shared library, filter button.
So again, you can sort by recently added, by date captured. Then you can choose to see both libraries, the iCloud library, rather the shared library, excuse me, or the personal one.
View options.
You have filtering options, which it's collapsed right now. If you expand that, I think that's where you can see like your filter by videos or by 4K or whatever.
View options button collapsed.
That's collapsed. You can expand any of these to see what's in them, and we can dismiss that. And then so now if we keep going even further down,
close button.
What we have, we can swipe up with 3 fingers, and it says all photos. And so then at the very bottom, you have a close button.
Library.
So that we are now back to this initial screen that we had. We have library.
Notification. Recent days. September 3rd, August, July.
All these recent days. And we're going to go past the recent days, okay? And now you get to a new category.
People and pets. Button. Padding.
People and pets.
Jessica and Matthew, button, Jessica, Carson, button, baby Carson, Matthew, button.
So we have all the people in my family. Kylie must be here somewhere, but it's got the other ones. You have pinned collections, which we haven't pinned any. You have memories, and we can create memories, but that's coming in 18.1.
Create a memory.
But here you
button.
Memories that are already here.
Carson, August 20th, exploring Hershey Park, button.
If I want to see this memory,
mute, button.
Exploring Hershey Park, and it's playing some music while it goes through these memories. I can close that when I'm finished with it.
Exploring Hershey.
Let's see. We can other sections.
Featured photos. Button.
Featured photos, and notice it says heading. So at least in theory, I should be able to use my heading navigation. Sometimes when you have such long lists like this, the headings don't always work, but it probably will.
Media types.
Yep, it's working. And media types there, praise God, that's another heading.
Videos, 1,299 items. Panoramas, 5 items. Verse, RAW, screenshots, ProRes, screen recordings, cinematic, anime.
So it has all these categorized. And then again, if you want to get back to the top, you can just 3-finger scroll down until you get up to the top. And remember, if you want to see all your photos, up at the top is the library button. And that's where we screenshot. Now we're seeing all the photos. And when we're done with that, we just hit the
live photo, live search,
close button, which is going to be at the bottom.
Close.
All right. So that's how that is set up. and I think you will really like it. As I said, it's got to be, it's got to be something you get used to. It's got to be something you take your time with. Try all of your um, navigation gestures. And I didn't even get into opening a photo, but that's because a lot of that is not that drastically changed. Mainly just the app layout is changed here. For the first time, certain reminders are now integrated into the calendar. Now, it's very specific. It's reminders that are scheduled. In other words, with an alert at a certain day and time. You're not going to find, let's say, your grocery list in the calendar, because that doesn't even make sense. What I'm going to do is demonstrate this. If you go into calendar, turn up the sound.
Double tap to open.
And
Contact.
go to
Note. Weather. Notes. Room. Mail. Camera. Photo. Calendar. Tuesday.
now.
Calendar. Search. Button.
What you're going to notice is that if I hit the add button to create a new calendar event.
Add button. Add text field. Is at text field. Is editing. Title. Character mode. Insertion point at start.
We are in the field, as we always have been when we add an event. That allows us to enter the event title. But I want to show you what happens if we swipe to the left.
Reminder button selected. Event button 1 of 2.
Notice you have two options now: event, which is selected, and reminder. So you can do reminders right in the calendar. They will also still show up in the reminders list. And again, they're only for reminders that have a date and a time, or at least a date associated with them. So if I cancel out of this,
cancel button, search button,
and if I go
years, current month,
let's go into the current month, and let's see what's on my calendar for today. Okay, we can change to, let's change to Thursday, the 26th, and you'll see that there are actually no events on my calendar for Thursday, but 3 reminders. Listen to this.
Practice the flute, 5 p.m.
My daughter's flute practice, she likes to have that on the calendar, so she remembers, and you can
take out the garbage, 10 p.m.
and take out the garbage. Those are from reminders. Those are not calendar events. I don't put calendar events like that on my calendar. I put that in reminders, but it shows up in the calendar because it has a scheduled date and a time. So again, new feature. It's possible to see scheduled reminders in the calendar, and it's possible to create reminders from within the calendar. You can still do it the other way. It's just giving you another option, and it's allowing you to see everything in one place. And that's really important, because if I say to SIRI, what's on my calendar for today, she'll now read both the calendar events and the scheduled reminders. Again, I've said it 2 or 3 times already, but I'm going to repeat myself, and I'm going to say it one more time. This is only for scheduled reminders. If you use reminders for a grocery list and you say add milk to the grocery list, well, that's not going to show up on your calendar. But if you say get milk, remind me to get milk at 7 p.m., that will show up because it has a time and it's scheduled. So it's just an added benefit for us. The next thing I'd like to do is talk about some new features in the Notes app. And this is very exciting. I'm going to show you some new options, and I'm going to have some fun with math.
Clock, mail,
let's
maps, notes.
Open up the Notes app. What I would like to first do is create a new note.
Toolbar, new note, note, text field, is editing, character mode.
And we'll call it new test or something like that. Just
cap double space, new, cap at T.
Just something very simple. We're going to say new test.
Shift.
And, oops, I don't know what that is. Okay, anyway, new test, doesn't matter.
Note, text field, is editing, new test, insertion point at end.
And we can move through this like we always have with the rotor.
Add link. Activate.
There's the actions. We can add a link that was added in iOS 17, but we can turn to words or characters.
Characters, new line, new T, E, cap T new
Right,
line.
just like we've always done, and it reads the font and the the text paragraph style. Nothing's changed there. All the good features that we've come to know and appreciate. But what I'd like to do is take you through the options when you have created a note, because some of them have changed and they're really good features. So let's tap on the edit field.
Empty line system Fox note. Text field is editing format button.
Swipe to the right. There's
tap to choose a style to apply to text.
And there's some new options under format. Now we haven't selected any text. So if we
format TTJ back
if we go into this,
undo but redo share more note
okay,
format close button.
There's the close button for the format menu, but
title, heading, subheading, selected, body.
Those are paragraph styles, right? And we're not going to teach what those are in this class. That we teach that in the voiceover class and in the iPad class, but you can apply those. That's not new. That you've been able to do for several years.
Mono styled, bold text.
But now you have new options.
Italicized text.
So we can bold and italicize without applying paragraph styles. And I think maybe we were able to do that before. It kind of runs together in my mind after a while, but I think we could do that.
Underline text, strike through text, toggle highlight.
But here's something we were not able to do. We can highlight text by selecting it and applying the toggle highlight. And look at this.
Select highlight color button.
We can actually select a color. Purple,
pink, orange, mint, blue. Dismiss context.
Purple, pink, orange, mint, and blue. So we have 5 colors we can apply to our highlight.
Select bulleted list.
And of course, we can still do bulleted, dashed, and numbered lists, and we can outdent and indent, and we have block quote. And so all of these things are new features, like the highlight and the colors and so forth. So I'm going to get out of that, and I'm going to show you some other features in the notes that we have. If you keep going to the right of the format button,
checklist, table, attachments, button.
Okay.
Handwriting.
So, and handwriting. So there's a lot of choices here. Now listen to some of these choices again here. So we have checklist. That's not new. We've been able to do
checklist to the current note.
We've been able to do checklists in notes for a while.
Table button.
Table. We've been able to do tables.
Tap to add the table to the current note.
In notes for a while.
Attachments button.
Attachments.
Double tap to add a photo or scan a document into the current note.
This is a redesign, and it's got some new options. So we're going to look at attachments in a minute, but just keep going.
Handwriting button.
Handwriting, and that you've been able to do in notes. And then if you're using 18.1 with Apple Intelligence, you're going to have even more options that I can't show you right now. But let's just go back to attachments.
Attachments button.
Because this is new.
Double tap to add a photo or scan a document into the current note.
And there are some options that we have had before, but some new options as well.
Attach file button.
So the first option is to attach a file. You can look in your iCloud Drive, find a file to attach.
Record audio button.
Record audio. This is brand new. It allows you to record audio right into your note. So you can create an audio note right here and just double tap on record audio. And you're going to be able to have an audio transcript of the audio as well, a written transcript of the audio.
Choose photo or video button.
Then we can choose a photo or video.
Take photo or video.
We can use the camera to take a photo or a video.
Scan documents.
Of course, scan a document.
Scan text.
Scan a text. The difference between those two options being scan document scans the item as an image. Scan text uses OCR. And then you're done. The rest of those are your quick type predictions and so on. So what we're going to do is scrub out of that. But you can see how it's been combined. There's some new options there like record audio. That's definitely not been there before. The ability to do that right into your note. That's pretty exciting. As I said, you can have a text transcript. Now, one of the other things that's been introduced in iOS 18 is math notes. And we're going to demonstrate math notes right now because math notes allows you to perform calculations automatically right in the Notes app or really any place where text is accepted. most any place you can enter text. And of course, also in the calculator app itself. We'll take a quick look at the redesigned calculator app, but right now we're going to just do it in the Notes app. So the first thing that I'm going to demonstrate to you is I'm going to just do a unit conversion. I'm going to say 65 miles to kilometers, and I'll put the equal sign. So we're going to type 65
space M-L-E-S
miles
space miles
to
kilometers
space
kilometers
equal sign.
Zero.
Oops, that's not the equal sign. Okay, so we have to use the equal sign. Where's my equal sign?
Quotation
Is it on this screen, or do I have to go to the... I think I have to go to the symbols.
Equals.
There it is, and there's my equal sign.
Computed result, 104.607 kilometers.
And did you hear what happened? It computed the result automatically. If I'm happy with it, I just press return.
Return. Committed 104.607 kilometers.
And it's in there now. So that was how easy it is. We can do something like, we can even do an equation. Like we can say x equals 3. So I'm going to go back to my keyboard here. And then I have to go to symbols. Equals
space
x equals 3.
Space 3.
And I think I can put the word and.
A-N-S and
y.
Cap y. Space 1
equals
space equals.
Let's say
5.
Let's say 2.
2.
Okay. And then I think I can
insert graph menu item.
Now I can insert a graph even. Look at that. That's an option we didn't have before. That's part of this math.
Return.
But I'm going to just press
New
return.
line, 2.
And I'm going to say 5 x.
Cap C.
Whoops, not C.
Cap C. Shift.
X.
Cap C.
Okay. And
Cap
then we're going to put space. And we're going to do, where's my plus sign?
Plus.
5x plus
space
3 y
space
equals
computed result 21.
And there you go.
Equals committed 21.
So that is math notes. You can put equations, and you could use words instead of x and y. Like, for example, if you're trying to figure out a bill, you could say like dinner equals $50 and movie equals, well, let's just do it. Let's say
new line.
Do one more example here with the dinner thing. We'll say dinner
space dinner equals
space
equals,
and we'll put a dollar sign 50
0 space A
and
D space M
movie
space move
equals
space
and we'll do
right left semi
dollar sign, not exclamation, dollar sign, $30.
0
and then we'll press return
new line
and we'll say dinner
space dinner
plus
plus M-O-V-I-E
movie equals
equal computed result $80.
And $80 is correct.
Committed $80.
So this can be really, really useful. And you heard when we did those first things, we even had a graph option that popped up in the shortcut menu. You could definitely do that. You can do this with handwriting if you are sighted and you use an Apple Pencil or something. You can use, I'm not talking about voiceover handwriting as an input method, but rather actual handwriting. And they've added new features for handwriting in Notes too that will improve drastically the way that handwriting looks, that handwritten text looks. And of course, it's searchable as it has been for several iOS versions now. I forget how many, but that is part of the new set of features as well. With going along with the math notes, there is a redesigned calculator and a new calculator app on the iPad.
Calculator list button.
If you look at the differences here,
list selected, input 0. Input unit, US dollar button.
I'm in a
swap units button.
Unit converter mode right now.
Result 0. Results unit. Euro all clear.
But there's
change sign.
Let's see where that is.
Percent 7 divide.
Okay. Your numbers.
Subtract.
Add.
Change mode.
Okay, down at the bottom here,
0 point equals
by the decimal and the zero, is the change mode option. I was in the unit converter, but we can choose change mode. And
selected basic.
We have the basic calculator,
scientific, math notes,
the math notes like we were doing over there in notes,
unit conversion,
the unit conversion, and it's on right now.
Unit conversion,
We'll turn it off. Now we just have the basic calculator, and you can use it as you normally would. So that's a new feature, is this modes. And if you turn it, it used to be when you were in portrait mode, you only had a basic calculator, but now you can actually get the scientific calculator. So if I hit change mode and I pick scientific,
selected 5,
we'll see some different
6, 5, 4
options.
Multiply, 8, change, all clear, degrees, pi, hyperbolic tangent.
We have pi, we have degrees, we have the sine, cosine, tangent, exponent,
tangent,
cosine, all these different options, x factorial,
log base 10.
And this is still,
calculate the logarithm to base 10 of a value.
See, and this is still in the portrait mode. We haven't even flipped it to landscape. So that's a new redesigned calculator. Again, if you look at the iPad, there is a calculator app on there as well. So all of these features definitely apply to the iPad as well as to the phone. One of the features that I wanted to also talk to you about, just some other little things across the operating system. If you are a user of the Files app, particularly iCloud Drive, you now have some new options. You have the ability to force a file to stay downloaded. So what used to happen is when you needed a file that's stored in iCloud Drive, it would download to your phone or iPad or whatever, and it would consume local storage. And then if you didn't use it for a while, it would automatically sort of not be deleted, but just be removed from your phone. The download would be, so that it would go back to just being in iCloud. But what's happened now is they have an option that you can keep certain files if you want to, for the purpose of using them offline. So if I find a file in my Files app here,
Keynote file,
there's a file.
21/24.
I'll long press on it.
Copy, move, share, remove download. Button.
There's remove download.
Keep downloaded.
There's keep downloaded. So you have that new option. We'll dismiss that. Another thing that's new in the Files app is the ability to format your external drives. If you connect a flash drive, if you connect some kind of external hard drive, you can erase that disk now, just like you could do on a Mac. You could now do it on your iPhone or iPad as well in the Files app.
News. Guardian US.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see what else. One of the things that I will point out is that one of the things I'll point out is that the News app has been redesigned visually to make articles bigger and headlines bigger. But what this means for us as voiceover users is that we have to use the 3-finger scroll to kind of get from section to section sometimes. Otherwise, it's going to cycle back around because the articles are taking up the whole screen. So let me just show you kind of what that sounds like a little bit, so you kind of know how to work with that a little bit. And we're not going to worry about what the articles are. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of political stuff, but we don't discuss politics in these TTJ sessions, do we? So we're just going to not care what they say. We're just looking at it for the sake of the app.
September 24th.
Swipe to the right.
Today feed. Top stories. Heading. The Washington Post. Biden touts his global record at CNBC. DOJ accuses Visa of monopoly at Miami Herald. Tropical storm Helene has formed and could hit Florida Gulf Coast as Category 3. 4 minutes ago. The Kansas City Star. With hours until his execution, Marcellus Williams is Vox. Everyone knows plastic pollution is bad. The Atlantic, why lighthouse parents have more confident kids. Local news, San Antonio Current, plan for high-speed rail connecting how a GOP scandal could impact Trump. Listen, more Apple News top stories, link.
But now,
top stories, heading.
Notice when we swipe to the right, we get back to top stories again. And if we go to the right,
The Washington Post, Biden touts his global.
We're back to that first story because these are big headline articles visually now. So what we do instead is we go.
Local, more Apple News top stories.
And if we want to keep going now, we 3-finger scroll up.
Page 4 of 25. A person wearing The Athletic, The Wall Street Journal, Penn suspends law professor Amy Wax up. The Wall Street Journal, the toughest part about owning the $100,000 Tesla Cybertruck.
And you notice that now we've gotten into the next section, which I guess is the for you, or the, and you can keep going now. But that is one of the differences is that when you reach the end of your top stories, you're going to want to do the 3-finger swipe up. When you reach the end of the crossword puzzles, you do the 3-finger swipe up. So, and this is true for sighted users as well. They don't do a 3-finger swipe, but they have to scroll like that as well because of the redesign visually of this app. All right, if you were here last week, we talked about messages, we talked about maps, we talked about the Photos app, we talked about a lot of voiceover features and settings, changes to the layout of the settings app. I think we talked about the fact that the Apple ID is being renamed Apple Account. Some of the other things I want to share with you quickly, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's coming before we go to questions. So if you go to your Apple TV, if you have one of those, in tvOS, there are some new features, the biggest of which are the enhanced dialogue feature. Now, that was already available if you owned HomePods, second generation, or HomePod minis. But now they've brought enhanced dialogue across the board, even if you have a sound bar or you're just using built-in TV speakers. And you can find this under your settings and then video and audio. Enhanced dialogue has 3 options: off, enhance, and boost. Boost being the most dramatic, enhance being the one in the middle. And this allows you to better hear the speech of the actors and actresses without really drastically affecting the other sounds. But it improves the sound of the spoken audio within your movies and shows. I think we talked a little about the automatic subtitles that pop up when you rewind or when you mute your audio. And I explained to you that that is definitely limited to apps that make use of the default Apple API for media playback. So it does not work in apps that have kind of reinvented the wheel for their own playback controls. I don't know if that'll ever change, but so if you get an app that doesn't do that, you'll know why. There's some new screensavers that are coming. They haven't come yet. The HomePods have some new features, mainly the ability to have share play sessions within the same household. Let's say you have people over for a dinner, a party or something, and then you decide, we want to all influence what's being played on the HomePods. And it's kind of like a jukebox. You can bring 2 phones up close to each other, and they can be used to add songs to the up next queue in your music app. We're now playing so that basically you can now have the jukebox feel, which is really kind of neat. I want to talk about the AirPods for a second as well. Specifically to the AirPods Pro, there have been several features that have been added. Voice isolation in different scenarios and things of that nature where it wasn't available before. But the really cool feature that I want to talk about is head gestures for the AirPods Pro 2nd generation. What happens is, let's say you receive a message and Siri reads that message to you with your AirPods in. And it says, do you want to reply? or you receive a phone call. Do you want to answer the phone call? Well, now you can use head gestures. You can nod your head up and down as a yes. You can shake your head as a no. Nodding your head will answer calls. We'll say yes to reply to messages. Shaking your head no will decline or hang up calls. We'll say no to replying to messages. And this is something that that you can do in as I said, second generation AirPods Pro. You have to wait for your AirPods firmware to be updated. There's no way to force that. It happens automatically. But when it is available, you'll be able to go into settings and then go into your AirPods, and you'll be able to turn on the head gestures if they're not already on. And so this is a really cool feature, and one that I think is absolutely fantastic. There are other new features coming to the AirPods in the very near future that Apple has announced, including the hearing aid feature. Apple has actually received FDA authorization to use the AirPods second generation Pro as an over-the-counter clinical hearing aid. And the way that this is going to work is that you will take a hearing test right in your settings on your device with your AirPods, and it will create a custom profile for you that enhances what you need to have enhanced. And it will work for your environment around you. And the best part is it'll sync across devices. So no matter whether you're using your iPhone, your iPad, presumably your Apple TV, whatever, it's going to allow you to do that. And again, this is something that is coming. It's not here yet, but it has been announced. All right, I have a couple other sort of what's coming features here that I want to go over with you in just a moment. Give me a second here. All right, let's see. All right, so we know that Apple Intelligence is well on the way. And I'm not going to demonstrate anything today because I didn't actually look yet at the videos that Apple has already released. If there's something that they've released in a video, I will be able to demonstrate it. And if not, we're going to wait because we do sign a non-disclosure agreement. And, the godly thing to do is to honor that. But if you want to try Apple Intelligence for yourself, as long as you have a compatible device, you can get into the 18.1 beta and you can give it a try. But I can talk about the things that Apple has talked about, and I can kind of talk about the roadmap a little bit based on what people have said is coming. So just an overview of kind of, again, what Apple Intelligence is, what it means, what it does. Apple Intelligence is a name that is given to a variety of enhancements across iOS and Mac OS and across the devices. It is not a separate app. It's not something you have to subscribe to or install. It's a collection of features across the device. Now, certainly one of the biggest enhancements that people are expecting with the Apple Intelligence is the sort of redesigned Siri. And that is a process. That is a work in progress. It will begin with the release of 18.1. But 18.1 is not the end, it's the beginning. So you will see enhancements to Siri in version 18.1. Probably the most notable Siri enhancement you're going to see in 18.1 is the voice. And I really have to fight the urge to show this to you because it is just amazing. Siri has never sounded better than what she does in 18.1 with Apple Intelligence. It is so human sounding, and they're still continuing to perfect it. But I mean, it really, really sounds like talking to a person. Visually, there's a new redesign for the Siri screen. You can interact with Siri. You can type to Siri if you need to on the fly. But the redesigned voice is probably the biggest thing about it. Now, there are going to be some additional enhancements right off the bat. One thing, if you stumble over your words, like if you were to say, SIRI, and you were to say, um, set a timer. Set an alarm for 9 a.m. And you were actually to say it like that, like you were to say timer, and then no, wait. Set an alarm. Stumble over your words. She's able to fix that and to pick up on what you actually meant. She's also able to give contextual answers and follow through answers. So, if you'd said like, what's the weather like in Orlando, Florida, and she tells you that, and then you say, and what's it like here? She'll be able to follow that request right through. And then there's the product support. She's got a ton of product knowledge. You'll be able to ask things like I tried one the other day, and I said, how do you add a link to a note? And she actually gave me the step-by-step of how to add a link to a note in the Notes app. So that's coming to Siri pretty quickly. There are going to be other things that are released over the course of the iOS 18 release cycle. Some of it probably won't arrive until spring, but there's going to be a lot of contextual awareness, on-screen awareness, and even deep integration with apps. And the best example of this right now is what Apple mentioned. They gave an example of somebody sharing her flight details with her son just in an email. And then he was able to say, what time is mom's flight getting in? And it used the information in the email combined with real-time flight information in case that flight was delayed or anything. And it gave him the answer of what time mom was getting in. It wasn't something that he had put on his calendar to say, mom gets in at 2. No. It came from a combination of the email and the real-time airline, flight traffic information. And then he said something like, what's a good place near the airport where we should go to lunch? And so it knew what airport he was talking about. It gave him some lunch options there. And she had mentioned a place, I guess, in a message for lunch, and it suggested this. So these kinds of deep language models, okay, are coming. It's not all going to be day one, okay? And that's very important to understand. This is a process. And it's not even going to really end with iOS 18 either. We know that. But it's going to get a lot richer and richer over the 18 release cycle. Another part of that with iOS 18 and Siri is the integration with Chat GPT. Now, in case there's anybody on this call who still doesn't know, Chat GPT is basically kind of like a search engine on steroids. It's something that's very, very deeply integrated with artificial intelligence to give really detailed answers rather than just a list of search results. I'm going to show you Chat GPT because that has nothing to do with 18.1. You can download Chat GPT for free right now, and I have. Launch Chat GPT. So I'm going to give you a few examples of what kinds of things I could say. I'm very much into air travel and aviation, and some of you already know that. And I like to learn about aviation. And so the other day I asked Chat GPT this question, and I'm going to do it right now.
New message, text field, insertion point at return.
And I'll dictate it. What is the difference between an APU and a ram air turbine?
Inserted. What is the difference between an APU and a ram air turbine?
And I'll press the
new message, send button.
And then listen to what it's going to say.
Send. What is the difference? Star APU, auxiliary power unit, star into star ram air turbine, RAT, star serve different purposes in an aircraft, although both provide power under certain conditions. 1. Star APU, auxiliary power unit, star purpose, star. The APU is a small engine typically located in the tail of an aircraft that provides electrical power and pressurized air when the main engines are not running. It is used on the ground for starting the main engines and running electrical systems like air conditioning and lights. In some cases, it can also provide backup power in flight, but this is rare. Star power source. Star. The APU is a self-contained engine that burns fuel to generate power. Star usage. Primarily used on the ground before takeoff and after landing, but can also be used in flight for non-critical power needs or in emergency situations. 2. Ram air turbine, RAT. Purpose. The RAT is a small turbine that deploys in flight during emergencies to provide power if all the engines fail and there is a loss of electrical power. It converts the airflow generated by the plane's motion into electrical power and sometimes hydraulic power to keep essential systems like flight controls operational.
And it keeps going. That is very, very thorough. And it really gave me the answer that I was looking for, because the reason I even asked this question was I saw a thing recently on Sully, the famous captain who was able to successfully land his plane in the Hudson River and everybody survived after a bird strike. And it talked about the fact that he started the APU, but I was familiar with ram air turbines. And so I thought to myself, if he lost both of his engines, why did he start the APU? Why didn't the ram air turbine do its thing? And this is why I asked this question. And it really gave me the answer. He started the APU, first of all, because the hope was that he could restart his engines, which of course he wasn't able to do. They were too badly damaged. But the idea was if you start the APU, you could, in theory, restart the engines. He still had fuel. He wasn't out of fuel, so he could do that. And the other thing was probably, I didn't read this, but I'm guessing based on what I did read, he wasn't at a fast enough speed or high enough altitude yet for the ram air turbine to work anyway. And it really wouldn't have provided anything helpful at that point. So this is kind of, the kind of thing you can do with your chat GPT. I'll give you another example.
Vertical attach new message text field is at insertion point at end.
Now, again, we're not going to be political. We're not going to take political sides, but given election day coming up, we're just going to ask, why should I vote in the elections? Why should I vote in United States elections?
Inserted, why should I vote in United States elections? Vertical attach send button send. What is the difference between an APU? Why vertical an APU auxiliary? Why should I vote in United States elections? The network connection was lost. Retry, but retry dimmed. Okay. What is the difference? Voting in United States elections is important for several reasons. 1. Civic responsibility. Voting is a fundamental way to participate in democracy and influence decisions that shape your community and country. It allows citizens to have a say in who represents them and in policies that affect their lives. 2. Representation. Elected officials make decisions.
Okay, so you get the idea. And you could ask this, things like, give me some recipes that I can make with chicken and noodles and different ingredients that you have. You can ask for recipes. You could even say, see how many things they have here for all that. Now, how do I get? Okay, let's say new chat, and let's say
point at start.
Let me say
use the rotor to access return.
What are some good picnic foods I can cook on the grill?
Inserted. What are some good picnic foods I can cook on the grill? Attack new send. Grilling is Here are some great foods you can cook on the grill. 3 number signs. Meats and proteins. 1. Burgers and hot dogs. Classic picnic staples. Easy to grill and customize. 2. Grilled chicken skewers. Marinate in lemon, garlic, and herbs for a flavorful option. 3. Grilled sausages. Try bratwurst, chorizo, or chicken sausages for variety.
All right, so you get the idea of Chat GPT. It uses artificial intelligence. It's using these so-called large language models to give very, very thorough answers, and it's very conversational. Now, Siri is going to get Chat GPT integration very soon. Apple says by the end of this year is how I think they worded it. Or maybe they said later this year or something. But anyway, all the pundits expect it to be before the end of the year. And so you'll be able to ask questions like that to SIRI without needing the app. You won't have to download the ChatGPT app. And what will happen is if SIRI feels that that question is best answered by ChatGPT, just like she already uses Wolfram Alpha and Yelp and Wikipedia and other things, she'll ask your permission. Can I send this info to ChatGPT? And then when she does that, you'll be able to get your answers like that from ChatGPT. Apple claims that they eventually plan to integrate other AI models in addition to ChatGPT, like Google's, what do they call it, Gemini, and things of that nature, so that's coming, theoretically in future iOS updates. So you'll have a choice, or it'll pick the one that's most appropriate for you at a given time. You're also going to see in iOS 18, as promised by Apple, the feature that allows you to create images and to create emojis simply based on a group of words. And this is going to be through a feature called Genmoji for the emoji. And it's going to work in your messages and in mail and other places. And there's also going to be an app where you get to sort of just play around with it and try it. And that's going to be called Image Playground. And the way Image Playground is going to work, and the way that the Genmoji is going to work, let's say that you have an idea. You tell somebody happy birthday, and it's specific to a specific person. Today it's let's pretend it's my son Carson's birthday today, or my daughter Kylie. Well, maybe I want a picture or an emoji of Kylie surrounded by colorful streamers holding an entire cake in her hands or something like that. Well, I could just type those words into the Image Playground or into the messages, the place where you create the emojis, and it's going to generate that for you automatically using your photos, using other things. It will be able to create these images for you. And that's a new feature that is coming. In iOS 18.1, it looks like you'll be able to do it with memories in the Photos app. You'll be able to say, create a memory of my kids at the beach, or, whatever. I mean, a lot of these memories already exist, but you can create custom ones with Apple Intelligence. Another feature that is planned for 18.1 that's going to be really cool is call recording and transcripts. And so what's going to happen is there's going to be, in iOS 18.1 and beyond, there's going to be a button to start recording a phone call. And when you press that button, both parties will hear an announcement that the call is being recorded. So that way you make sure nobody's being recorded without their consent, right? Because they can hang up if they don't want to be. But it's going to tell everybody that the call's being recorded, and then it will start recording the call. It will get saved to your notes. You'll be able to extract the audio for other uses, but you'll also have a written transcript of the call in your notes. And the basic call recording feature will work even on devices that do not support the Apple Intelligence features. The benefit of Apple Intelligence is the transcripts are going to be able to be summarized as well. So summary is another big part of Apple Intelligence. Summaries of notifications, summaries of emails, summaries of messages, summaries of documents. You'll be able to have Apple Intelligence summarize these things for you to give you the most critical points. And when you're writing, you'll have new writing tools that will allow you, for example, to change the tone of what you've written to something professional or something casual or different options like this. And once ChatGPT integration is there, you'll even be able to have it write summaries for you. So this is just a rough list of some of the biggest features that are being promised for 18.1 and beyond in the iOS 18 release cycle with Apple Intelligence. So now that we've covered over these past 2 weeks quite a variety of features, many of which I mentioned today, the send later, the tap backs, the message effects, the custom home screen and removing items from the lock screen, and control center with multiple pages. And we've talked about all of these features, maps, and the Photos app redesign. And then today, the events and reminders right on the calendar, and the new notes features, recording of audio and math notes. And, there are so many more things. We've just scratched the surface, something like 200 or more features in iOS 18 and its counterparts. But I think we've given you some things to play with. I want to take your questions. And I will also say, we have a new playlist on our YouTube channel, and it's Apple iOS 18 and more. And we have already 3 videos up there on the Messages app, one on message special effects, one on, or not special message, but rather special text effects in Messages, one on the send later feature, and one on the custom tapbacks. There will be more videos to come. All these things we've talked about here will be posted to YouTube as well. And these are all really short videos, 3 or 4 minutes tops, where it just gives you a real quick demonstration of these things and how to use them. So please check those out. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/@TTJTech. That's youtube.com/@ and then the word TTJTECH. And that's one of our playlists. So I want to thank you all for joining us. And God bless you. We will see you next week for a regular help session. Remember, we're less than 2 weeks away from VoiceOver in and out. Talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for joining today's session. Didn't get your question answered? Have an additional comment or feedback? Email us info@ttjtech.biz or info@stiritup.com. And remember, stir is spelled with a U. That's STURITUP.com. Or check out our websites for additional resources. That's ttjtech.biz or stiritup.com. And remember, subscribe to the newsletter when you're there. That way, you don't miss out on any upcoming announcements or events. Thanks for joining us. God bless, and see you next time.